Okay, you guys have a quiz Tuesday. Let's talk about this. Articles of Confederation, Northwest Territory, things you need to know. In the notes that we took, there were some strengths, but mainly a lot of weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Get out those notes from the Cornell style, fill in the blank, and know those. So let me go over them just briefly. Strengths. Well, first of all, Articles of Confederation is a document, is the very first form of government for the new republic, for the Americas, for America, the United States. And one, strengths. It created the Land Ordinance of 1785, important. Outlawed slavery in the Northwest Territory. Articles of Confederation in your textbook, I would recommend beginning on page 206. Read that. Take Cornell notes on that. Northwest Ordinance 207. Weaknesses of the Articles, page 208. There's also information in there on Shays' Rebellion. Okay, those are the main sections. Page 210 has information that's more specific to the Northwest Territory. I would read those several pages. 3 pages. Now, mainly what there were weaknesses. Weaknesses had no executive or judicial branches of government, which means that they didn't have power to enforce the laws that they had. Shays' Rebellion showed that the government, as it stood with the Articles of Confederation, couldn't keep order, and that it was weak, too weak, in fact, and it had to be revamped. That a stronger form of government was needed. There was no power to regulate, to tax or regulate trade, no army, and no foreign respect from other powers internationally because of the weak form of government. And if they wanted to change the Articles of Confederation, they had to have a unanimous vote by the 13 states, and that was very difficult to do. So many weaknesses, not very many strengths. We know that. So for the quiz, you'll need to be able to list several of the weaknesses as well as several of the strengths of the Articles of Confederation. You'll need to know what the Articles of Confederation were. Now, they were written in a weak way on purpose. So the Continental Congress, when they drafted them and wrote them, and they were ratified, made them weak on purpose because Americans in general felt that a strong central government would create this oppressive ruler. All right, even though it wasn't a king, giving the government too much power in their eyes at this time, they were fearful that they wouldn't have control over what was going on. They wouldn't get a say-so, and then again, they're in a similar situation from that they just got out of with King George. Okay, the Northwest Ordinance. We're going to do a worksheet on Monday called Understanding the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. This worksheet is going to be pretty important, but let me just focus on a couple of things. There's a lot of content on it, but to focus on, there's a couple of numbers on here that you'll need to know. 5,000 and 60,000. We talked about last week, 60,000, that was the number of people in the territory that were required before an area could be considered for statehood. Okay, so 60,000 is an important number. Now, if a territory had just 5,000 people, okay, well, I take that back. If they had 5,000 free white males, okay, women didn't count at this time, people of color didn't count at this time for these kinds of legal proceedings, then that territory could elect representatives from its counties to go to legislature. They could speak, they could be heard, but they didn't have voting rights. So that's also important. You know, and I'll just read this. This is at the top of the worksheet that we're going to do Monday, but it's important. It's kind of an overview. The Northwest Ordinance of 1787, I should have started with this. After the Revolution ended, the Articles of Confederation, Congress made a historic decision about the new territory gained from the British and how it would be governed, called the Northwest Ordinance. It originally applied to the area north of the Ohio River and east of the Mississippi River. However, all the territories west of the Mississippi also entered under the same system. Later, acts of Congress allowed people in some territories to decide the issue of slavery by popular sovereignty. You'll need to know what that is. We'll talk about it on Monday. You could Google it. I guess y'all don't Google. Look it up on your phone. And Texas actually entered the Union as an independent country at this time, not a territory. That's just extra information. I won't be on the quiz. Now, in the Articles of Confederation, just like now, there's the federal government that has power, and then states have their own different kinds of power. The way they set it up, the Articles of Confederation, the federal government did not have very much power, and some of the most important or the most powerful decision-making things that could be done were actually done by the state. So actually at this time, because the Articles of Confederation were weak, states had more power. Okay, so also what you're looking at, this is a short quiz, 5 questions. I'll give you 20 minutes to complete it. There are some bonus opportunities, 3 bonus opportunities. I'll talk to the history department. We'll decide. They're probably 1 point each. They could be more than that. But let's say 1 point each for now until we decide within the history department what they're going to be extra bonus for. So they're actually a lot each. There are partial credit, but they're 20 points each because there are only 5 questions. Okay. Those are the big things you need to know and study. The notes that you took from the PowerPoint are going to be important, and then understanding the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 is also important, and we'll do that Monday. Okay.